It was New Year's Eve, and the wind howled across the cold mountains. Snow was falling heavily, covering the roads, the trees, and everything in sight. Most people were inside, warm and safe with their families. But one man was not. Mr. Zayan, a well-known businessman and millionaire, was driving alone in his black luxury car. He had a plan to spend New Year's at his private cabin, hidden deep in the snowy hills. He didn't want to be around anyone, not his friends, not his workers, not even his family. As he drove up the mountain road, he was yelling on the phone. "No! I told you, cancel the deal! Do what I say!" he barked angrily. His voice was cold, sharp, and full of stress. On the other side of the call, someone was trying to calm him down. But Zayan wasn't listening. He was too angry, too tired, too alone. He hung up the call and threw the phone onto the passenger seat. His eyes were filled with frustration, and his heart was full of bitterness. Outside, the weather got worse. A sudden blizzard hit the mountains. The wind became stronger. Snow fell faster. Visibility dropped. Zayan couldn't see the road clearly anymore. His car slipped once, then again. He gripped the steering wheel tightly and whispered, "Come on, not now." Suddenly, the car lost control completely. Crash! The car spun and hit a snowbank on the side of the road. The front bumper cracked. The engine hissed. Steam rose. Zayan sat frozen for a second, his heart racing. Then he opened the door and stepped out into the icy air. Cold slapped his face. The snow hit like tiny needles. His suit was not made for this weather. He tried to walk, but the snow was too deep. "I need to get help," he said to himself. But after just a few steps, his legs gave up. He fell face first into the snow. His hands shook. His body felt heavy. His phone, now without battery, was useless. He looked around. Nothing, no cars, no lights, no sound except the wind. He was alone. His mind began to go blank. "Help," he whispered weakly. "Somebody, please." Then everything went dark. Hours passed. The snow kept falling. The mountains were quiet again, but not far from there, in a small wooden hut at the edge of the forest, a young girl named Alina was walking through the snow with a bundle of firewood on her back. She was around 17, wearing a thick coat and worn-out boots. Her face was red from the cold, but her eyes were sharp. She had to collect wood before the snow got deeper. Her grandfather was sick, and they needed fire to keep the house warm. As she walked back toward her home, something caught her eye. It was a black shape in the snow, not far from the trees. She stopped, squinted her eyes. It was a car. She dropped her firewood and ran toward it. Inside, she saw a man slumped against the door. His face was pale. His lips were blue. His hands weren't moving. "Oh no," she gasped. Without wasting a second, she opened the car door, grabbed his shoulders, and shook him. Sir, can you hear me?" No response. Alina looked around. No one was near. No one would come. She pulled his arm over her shoulder and tried to lift him. He was heavy, but she didn't give up. Step by step, she dragged him through the deep snow toward her hut. Her boots slipped. Her hands burned. But she kept going. "Please don't die," she whispered. "Just a little more." After what felt like forever, she reached her door. She pushed it open with her shoulder and pulled him inside. The house was small, just one room with a fireplace and a single bed. She lay him down near the fire and covered him with blankets. Then she ran to heat water, warmed a cloth, and wiped his face. Her grandfather, an old man sitting in a wheelchair, looked at her with wide eyes. "Who is this?" he asked, coughing. "I don't know," Alina replied, still breathing heavily. "But he was dying in the snow. I had to help him." She checked the man's pulse. It was weak, but still there. He needs time. He just needs to wake up. They sat in silence, watching the stranger rest. The snowstorm roared outside, but inside was warm. The storm outside had calmed by morning, but inside the small hut, everything was quiet. The fire still burned, giving the only light in the room. Zayan lay on the floor, wrapped in thick blankets, his head resting on a pillow. His face was no longer pale, but he still hadn't opened his eyes. Next to him sat Alina, watching him closely. She hadn't slept all night. Her grandfather was coughing quietly near the window, sipping warm tea. "He's strong," the old man said. "He'll wake up soon." Alina nodded. "I just hope he's not angry. I didn't know who else to call." She had no phone, no car, no way to contact the outside world. Their village was deep in the forest. No signal, no road that stayed open during winter storms. All she had was her strength, her courage, and a soft heart. Just as she poured warm water into a bowl to wipe Zion's face again, he moved. His fingers twitched. His lips parted. Then slowly, his eyes opened. Alina leaned closer. "Sir? Can you hear me?" Zion blinked a few times, trying to understand where he was. The ceiling was wooden. There was smoke from the fire. He heard a soft crackle. Then he saw her, a girl with tired eyes but a gentle face. Where am I?" he whispered, his voice dry and rough. "You're safe now," Alina said, softly. "You were in the snow. I found you in your car." He looked confused. "The snow? My car? The mountain? I was driving." "Yes," she said, dipping a cloth in warm water. "You crashed during the storm. You were unconscious. I brought you here." Zion tried to sit up, but pain shot through his chest. He winced. "Don't move too fast," she said. "You had a small cut on your forehead and your body was frozen. But you're okay now." Zion looked around again. The room was poor, no fancy furniture, just a wooden table, some shelves, and 2 chairs. It was warm but simple. Then he saw the old man by the window. "That's my grandfather," Alina said. "We live here, just the 2 of us." Zion didn't speak for a while. He stared at the fire. His mind was still trying to catch up. "I should have died," he whispered finally. "Nobody knew where I was. My phone was dead." "You're lucky I was out getting firewood," she said with a small smile. "You almost disappeared under the snow." As hours passed, Zion slowly recovered. Alina gave him soup. He drank it quietly. He didn't talk much, but his eyes followed every movement she made. She wasn't scared of him. She didn't ask him who he was. She didn't care about his money or name. She just treated him like a person who needed help. "You saved me," he said softly, once he had enough strength to sit up properly. "Why?" Alina looked at him and said, "Because I would want someone to do the same for me." Zion didn't know what to say. He had spent years in a world full of business deals, fake smiles, and people who only cared about his wealth. This girl, she lived in a broken-down home with nothing, yet she gave everything she had to help a stranger. That night, as snow fell again outside, Zion stared at the fire, thinking, "I should have been at my cabin now," he said quietly, "drinking wine, alone, angry." "Why angry?" Alina asked, curious. He looked at her for a moment, then shook his head. "It doesn't matter. It's just, everything in my life has become cold, like that storm." Alina didn't say anything. She didn't ask questions. She just handed him a thick scarf to stay warm. For the first time in years, Zion felt something he couldn't describe, a kind of peace, a strange comfort, not from gold, not from business, but from kindness. The next morning, Alina opened the small window to let in air. Sunlight hit the snow outside. Zion walked slowly to the door, leaning on a stick Alina had carved for him. He looked at the white mountains. "I've never seen this view," he whispered. "You never stopped to look?" she replied. Zion turned to her. "What's your name?" "Alina." He smiled faintly. "Thank you, Alina." Days passed slowly in the small wooden house. Mr. Zayn, once a powerful millionaire used to glass towers and fast cars, now spent his time sitting near the fireplace, wrapped in a thick wool blanket, drinking hot tea from a chipped cup. Each morning, Alina lit the fire, cooked simple food, and swept the floor. She spoke kindly, but never asked too much. She gave him space, but she noticed something. He was hiding something deep inside. One night, as a soft snow fell outside, Zion stared into the flames, his face serious. Alina watched him from the kitchen. "You're not just quiet," she said gently. "You're carrying something heavy." Zion turned toward her slowly. "You're very observant for someone so young." "I watch people," she said. "I had to grow up fast." He nodded, then looked down. "Do you know what I was doing the day my car crashed?" "No." "I was running." "Away." Alina blinked. "From what?" He hesitated, then let out a long sigh. "From everything." Zion leaned forward and spoke in a voice softer than before. "I was supposed to spend New Year's with my fiancée," he began. "At a party in the city. Expensive food, loud music, fancy clothes. But I couldn't take it anymore." "Why?" "Because it was all fake." He looked at her, his eyes sharp now. "She didn't love me, she loved the money. My business partners? They were planning to push me out. My family? They only called when they needed something." Zion's voice cracked. "I had spent years building a world made of gold, but I realized I was completely alone in it." Alina sat beside him quietly, her hands folded. "So I decided to escape. Just drive away. Go to my old cabin in the mountains and disappear for a while." He gave a short, bitter laugh. But life had a different plan. The storm. The crash. And then, you. There was silence. Only the fire crackled in the corner. "You saved me, Alina. But not just from the snow. You saved me from myself." Alina looked at him, her eyes soft. "Sometimes," she said, "the cold outside matches the cold inside. But the sun always comes back." Zion gave a weak smile. "You talk like someone who's seen hard days." She looked away. "My mother died when I was 10. My father left before that. Only Dada, my grandfather, stayed. We grow our food, cut our own firewood. We've never had much, but we survive." Zion stared at her in awe. He had met hundreds of people, strong, powerful, educated. Yet this girl with torn gloves and a soft voice was stronger than all of them. The next morning, Zion stepped outside for the first time since the accident. The snow had melted slightly under the sun. The trees sparkled. Smoke rose gently from the hut. Alina stood beside him, pointing at the hills. "If you climb that one, you can see the whole valley." Zion nodded. "I'd like that when I'm stronger." He paused. "I want to repay you." Alina shook her head. "You don't have to." "I want to," he insisted. "Let me give you money, a proper house, a phone, education." She looked up at him. "That's kind of you, but we don't need anything." Zion blinked. "Why?" "Because the world takes too much already. I don't want anything that comes with conditions." That answer hit him hard. He wasn't used to people refusing him. Especially when he offered gifts. She wasn't trying to impress him. She wasn't trying to hold on to him. She was free. And for the first time, he wanted to feel that too. That evening, while chopping wood beside the house, Zion saw something strange. A black SUV, shiny and new, came rolling up the snowy path. Alina stepped outside, shielding her eyes. "Do you know them?" she asked. Zion's face turned pale. It was his assistant and 2 security guards. They had found him. The black SUV sat quietly in the snow, engine still running. 2 men in dark coats stepped out. One of them was Mr. Zayan's personal assistant, Omar. The other was a bodyguard, tall and serious. "Sir," Omar called out, eyes wide with relief. "You're alive!" Zayan stood near the wooden steps of Alina's small home. His clothes were old now, his hair messy, and he looked nothing like the billionaire from the city. Still, Omar ran toward him and hugged him tightly. "We searched everywhere," he said breathlessly. "Helicopters, police, local people. Everyone thought you were dead." Zayan didn't smile. "I almost was," he replied quietly, "until she found me." He turned to look at Alina, who stood behind him with a calm face. The bodyguard stepped forward. "Sir, you must come with us. We've arranged a medical team at the hotel down the hill. News reporters are waiting. The media is already—" "No," Zayan interrupted. His voice was firm. I'm not ready to go. Omar blinked. Sir, I'm staying here a few more days. But sir, your fiancée? I don't want to see her. Silence fell over the snowy path. Even Alina looked surprised. Zayan turned to Omar. Tell them I'm alive. But tell them I'm resting. The assistant hesitated, then nodded slowly. As you wish. Then Zayan added, no reporters, no cameras, no social media. Not yet. Omar agreed, and the two men went back into the SUV. The vehicle backed away, disappearing into the white hills again. Zayan stood in the snow, breathing deeply. Cold air filled his lungs. But he didn't feel cold anymore. Alina came closer. You sent them away. Yes. Why? Zayan looked at her with soft eyes. Because that world never gave me peace, but here, I feel something real. Later that night, the small cabin glowed with orange firelight. Zayan sat by the fire, writing in a notebook he had found on the shelf. His hands were shaky, but his heart felt full. What are you writing? Alina asked gently. My first reel. Thoughts in years, he said. Not business notes, not plans, just feelings. Alina nodded. She stirred soup over the fire and smiled. I never knew people like you could feel lost. Zayan laughed. Neither did I. As the wind howled outside, the cabin stayed warm and quiet. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Alina froze. She wasn't expecting anyone. Zayan stood up quickly and opened the door. An old man stood outside with snow in his beard and a stick in his hand. It was Alina's grandfather, Dada. She ran to him. Dada, you're back, he smiled and hugged her tightly. I heard what happened, he said, looking at Zayan. You found a stranger in the snow, huh? Alina nodded. He was almost gone. I brought him here. Dada turned to Zayan and smiled. You are lucky. My granddaughter has a kind heart. Zayan smiled back. Yes, very lucky. That night, after dinner, Dada sat near the fire and looked straight at Zayan. I heard your name before, he said. Zayan's eyebrows rose. Really? Yes. I saw you once on the news. Big man, big money. But today you look different. Zayan nodded slowly. I feel different. Dada leaned forward. Then listen, son. If life gives you a second chance, don't waste it doing the same old things. Zayan looked at the flames, then at Alina, who sat quietly knitting beside the wall. He knew Dada was right. The next day, Zayan walked into the forest with Alina. Snow crunched under their feet. I have to go back soon, he said softly. I know, she replied, but I don't want to go back empty. She looked at him. What do you mean? I want to change. I want to help people. I want to build something that matters, not just for me, but for others too. Alina nodded. That's a good dream. Zayan smiled. I think I found it here. He took out the small notebook from his coat. I'm going to start something new, something simple, something honest. Snowflakes danced gently outside the small cabin as the fire crackled inside. Zayan, the once arrogant billionaire, sat quietly on a wooden chair, wrapped in a worn-out wool blanket. His mind was full of thoughts about life, money, and most of all, Alina. Alina moved around the kitchen cooking soup. She wore a simple dress and warm shawl, humming a soft village tune. Her voice was calm. Her hands were steady. She seemed like someone who had never known the noise of the outside world. Zayan watched her in silence. It had only been a few days since she saved his life, but he already felt like he had known her forever. I was never really alive, Zayan finally said. Alina turned to him. What do you mean? I mean, I had everything. Cars, houses, a big company, thousands of people worked for me, but no one ever really knew me, not even me. Alina came closer with a bowl of hot soup and sat beside him. Sometimes people with everything feel the emptiest. He nodded slowly. That's exactly how I felt before the snowstorm. She placed the bowl in his hands. And now? Zayan smiled. Now I feel like I've been born again. That evening, a loud knock came at the cabin door. Zayan stood up quickly. Alina looked worried. "Stay behind me," he said softly, as if danger might be on the other side. He opened the door slowly. A man in a long black coat stood in the snow, holding a briefcase. "Mr. Zayan," he said, voice sharp. "Thank God we found you." Zayan narrowed his eyes. "Who are you?" "I'm Mr. Thomas, your lawyer. The world thinks you're dead. The board is panicking, the media is watching. Your fiancé is demanding answers." Zayan looked tired already. "I'm not going back." Mr. Thomas looked shocked. "But sir, the company—" "I don't care about the company," Zayan cut in. "Not right now. But your money, your properties, your wedding—" Zayan stepped outside and closed the door behind him so Alina couldn't hear. "Thomas," he said quietly, "I almost died, and while I was lying in the snow, not one of those people came to save me. Not the board, not my fiancé, not my so-called friends." Mr. Thomas said nothing. Zayan continued. "Only a girl from a small village, someone who didn't know who I was, saved me, fed me, sat beside me. Do you understand what that means?" Back inside, Alina stood by the window. She couldn't hear their words, but she saw Zayan's face. He looked angry, hurt, confused. A moment later, Zayan came back in. "He wants me to leave tonight," he said, shaking his head. "To fly back, do a press conference, pretend like nothing happened." Alina stayed quiet. Zayan looked at her with serious eyes. "But I'm not leaving. Not yet. I don't want that life. Not until I figure out who I really am." Later that night, the two sat near the fire again. Zayan took out a small notebook he had found in the cabin. He began to write. "What are you writing?" Alina asked. "Everything I never said," he replied. "All the lies I lived, all the truths I ignored." Alina smiled gently. "Writing is healing." He looked at her. "Alina, I've been thinking, maybe I don't want to go back to who I was. Maybe I want to start over." She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she whispered, "Starting over is not easy, but it's worth it." Zayan stared into the flames. For the first time in years, he felt peace. Just as the cabin grew quiet, a loud buzzing sound came from outside. Zayan stood. Alina peeked through the window. A drone hovered above their house, blinking red lights. A camera was attached. Zayan's heart sank. "They found me again." Alina's eyes widened. "Who are they?" Zayan sighed. "The media, they always find a way." Seconds later, headlights flashed through the trees. A big black SUV pulled up in front of the cabin. Several men with cameras and microphones stepped out. Zayan's name echoed through the cold forest. "Mr. Zayan, are you alive? Where have you been? Who is this girl?" Zayan turned to Alina. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring this into your life." She held his hand. "Don't run, stand tall." He nodded. As he opened the door and stepped outside, flashes of cameras exploded in his face. He held up his hand and said clearly, "I'm alive. But I'm not the man you used to know, and I'm not going back to that world, not yet." The reporters went silent. Alina watched from the window as Zayan stood bravely before the world that once controlled him. The cold wind blew through the trees as Zayan stood frozen in place. The woman in the red coat took a step closer. Her eyes were sharp. Her voice calm but full of pressure. "Zayan," she said again, "we need to talk." It was Lana, his fiancée, a woman from the city, known for her fashion, her money, and her pride. Alina, standing at the window, saw her. She looked down, heart pounding. Something inside her felt strange. Was she jealous? No, just confused. Lana looked around at the small wooden cabin. Her nose wrinkled. "This is where you've been?" she asked coldly. "With her?" Zayan didn't reply. "She's just a kind villager," he said at last. "She saved my life." Lana crossed her arms. "You've been gone for over a week. Everyone thinks you're dead. Your company is in chaos. Investors are panicking. And you're hiding here? Like a lost child?" Zayan looked away, silent. "You're coming back with me tonight," Lana added firmly. I already called the jet. It's waiting. Back inside, Alina quietly packed a small basket with bread and soup. She didn't want to hear their conversation, but she couldn't stop listening. Her heart felt heavy. He was engaged, of course. He was. He was rich, powerful, famous. What did she think? That a man like Zion would stay here? That he would choose this quiet life? And someone like her? Tears filled her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. Outside, Zion sighed. I'm not the same man anymore, Lana, she laughed. Oh, don't start with that. You hit your head, you got cold, now you think you're a farmer? I nearly died, Zion said, voice steady. And no one came for me, not you, not the board, not even a friend. Lana narrowed her eyes. You think that girl loves you? Don't be fooled. She probably saw your face on TV. She knows who you are. She just wants a piece of your money. Zion stepped forward. His voice was cold now. She didn't even know my name. Lana blinked, surprised, but she quickly recovered. Fine, she said. Stay here and throw your life away. But don't expect me to wait. The media already knows about us. If you don't return soon, everything will fall apart. Zion said nothing. His silence was her answer. Lana scoffed, turned, and walked back to the car. The door slammed. The SUV disappeared into the snow. Inside, Alina stood by the fire, pretending not to have heard anything. Zion entered the cabin quietly. He looked tired. She handed him the soup. She's right, you know. You belong to another world. A bigger world. Zion looked straight into her eyes. Maybe, but I've never felt seen in that world, not like I do here. Alina didn't answer. The next morning, Zion went outside to fetch firewood. He found a small envelope tucked under the woodpile. He opened it. It was a letter. Mr. Zion, I know you are not like others. You're kind, thoughtful, and strong, but you don't belong here. You have a destiny waiting. I don't want to hold you back. Thank you for letting me be part of your story. Alina, Zion dropped the letter. His chest tightened. He ran back inside. Alina, he called. Silence. The small cabin was empty. Her shawl was gone. Her boots were missing. The fire was out. She was gone. Suspense. Ending. Zion looked out into the snow-covered forest, shouting her name. No answer. He ran toward the village. People stared as he passed, but no one had seen her. He stopped, out of breath. Then, he looked down. In the snow, he saw something that made his heart stop. A broken bracelet. The one she always wore. And next to it, tire marks, deep, fast, fresh. Zion's eyes widened. Someone took her, he whispered, his hands curled into fists, and in that moment, he made a promise. Zion stood frozen in the snow, staring at the broken bracelet. It was Alina's, the one she always wore. The beads were cracked, the thread torn. Beside it, tire marks led away from the cabin. Deep, fresh. Zion's heart raced. He knew something was wrong. She didn't leave, he whispered. She was taken. Without wasting a second, he rushed back to the cabin, grabbed his coat and took his phone. No signal. He jumped into the old pickup truck Alina had repaired earlier. It coughed and shook, but it started. He followed the tire tracks through the snow, hands tight on the steering wheel, eyes focused. As he drove, flashes of her smile came to his mind. Her kindness, her strength. She didn't deserve this. Who would take her, he thought. Then one name came to his mind, Lana. She had power, money, and a reason. He had refused to go back with her, and now Alina was missing. Could Lana have done this? Zion reached the village and went straight to the old man who sold firewood. Have you seen Alina? He asked quickly. The man shook his head. She left early this morning, said she had to deliver something to a friend in the next village. But she never came back. Zion frowned. Did anyone come looking for her? The man nodded. Yes, a black car, with tinted windows, city people. They asked about her. That was enough. Zion knew it now. She had been followed and taken. He drove fast to the next village. Snow whipped across the road, but he didn't stop. When he reached, he showed her photo, asked everyone. Finally, a boy said, "I saw her get into a black car. She didn't look happy." Zion's chest burned. She was in trouble. Hours passed. Day turned to night. Zion returned to the city. He hadn't been back since the storm. His name was still in the news. People believed he was still missing. He didn't care. He went straight to Lana's office, burst through the doors. Lana was there, dressed in red, sipping wine like nothing happened. She looked up, shocked. "You're alive," she said. Zion's eyes were sharp. "Where is she?" "Who?" she asked calmly. "Alina." Lana stood up. "I don't know what you're talking about." Zion walked closer. "I saw the tracks. I found her bracelet." Lana smiled coldly. "Maybe she just left you. Maybe she realized you were never going to be part of her world." Zion's voice was low now. "Where is she?" Lana turned and walked toward the window. "She's not your type, Zion. She's a simple girl. She lives in snow and silence. You'll get bored." "I love her," he said. "She saved my life, and I'm going to save hers." Lana turned slowly. "Fine," she said. "But if you walk out that door, you lose everything. Your company, your name, your money." Zion didn't blink. "I already lost everything once, when I almost died. In the snow. This time I know what's worth saving." He turned and walked out. That night, Zion met an old friend, Amir, a retired detective. He showed him the tire tracks, the bracelet, the photo. Amir nodded. "This looks serious. I'll help you." Together they traced the car, using traffic cameras, village reports, and a few quiet bribes. Finally, they found it. A private house outside the city. No guards, no signs, just silence. Inside, lights were on. Zion and Amir moved quietly, flashlights in hand. They reached the back door. It was locked. Amir picked the lock in seconds. They entered slowly. The house was clean, cold, empty, until they heard a sound. A soft cry. Zion rushed forward. He opened the door to a small room. There she was, Alina, sitting on the floor. Hands tied, tears in her eyes. When she saw Zion, she gasped. "Zion," she whispered. He rushed to her, untied her ropes, held her tight. "I found you," he said. "You're safe now," she cried into his chest. "I thought I'd never see you again." Zion stood frozen. The man with the gun had disappeared into the dark, but his words stayed. "She's not done." Zion helped Alina to her feet. Her hands were shaking, her eyes full of fear. "Come on," he whispered. "We need to go." Now. They ran out of the house and into the night, snow falling again. Soft but cold, just like before. Amir was waiting outside with the car ready. As they drove away, Alina looked back at the strange house, her voice trembling. "I didn't know who those people were. They kept asking questions about you." Zion looked at her. "Me?" She nodded. "They wanted to know how I found you. If I took anything. If you said anything strange in your sleep." Zion frowned. "This isn't just Lana's doing. This is bigger." Back in the city, they found a quiet hotel to stay the night. Zion made sure Alina was safe, then sat with Amir to talk. "I think someone planned my accident," Zion said. "I was angry that day, but I never lost control of the car. The brakes didn't work." Amir nodded. "You think it was sabotage?" Zion nodded. "Someone wanted me dead. Lana just wanted control. But this feels like more." The next morning, a message arrived at the hotel. It was slipped under their door, a single sentence. "Stop looking or she disappears again." Alina held the note with shaking hands. "They're watching us." Zion stood up. Not this time. He called a press conference. The media had thought he was dead. Now he was back, and he had something to say. In front of cameras, Zion stood beside Alina and Amir. "I want to thank the brave girl who saved me during the storm," he began. "But I also want to tell the world something else. I was not just lost. I was targeted. And the woman behind it was someone I once trusted. Lana watched the live broadcast from her office. Her smile faded. Her eyes grew cold. Zayan continued, I'm giving up my company. I don't want the money. I don't want the fame. I want peace and I want justice. After the conference, Zayan turned to Alina. You saved me once, he said, gently taking her hand. Let me protect you now. Let's go far away, start fresh. Tears filled her eyes. I'm just a simple village girl, Zayan. Your world, it's too big. Zayan smiled softly. Your heart is bigger than any world I've ever known. Few weeks later, they moved to a quiet town near the sea. Alina opened a small bakery. Zayan worked as a volunteer helping lost hikers, a man who had once been lost himself. They lived simply but happily. One morning, Alina was opening the bakery when she saw something strange outside. A small box on the doorstep. Inside it, snow globe. The same kind Zayan had carried the day of the storm. A tiny paper was inside the globe. This is not the end. She ran to Zayan. He looked at the note. His jaw clenched. It's her again, Alina whispered. No, Zayan said quietly. It's someone else. Someone we never saw coming. Final scene, emotional plus suspenseful ending. That night, Alina tucked the globe in a drawer. Zayan kissed her forehead. No matter what happens, he said, I will always find you. Like you found me in the snow, she smiled. And I'll always believe in you. They turned off the lights. The camera slowly zoomed in on the drawer with the snow globe, and the tiny paper inside glowing under the moonlight. To be continued.